Hi friends, it's Alyssa and welcome back to my channel. So do you have ground beef sitting in your fridge or freezer right now? Do you usually go and grab ground beef when you're not sure what you're gonna make for dinner and you wanna make something easy and delicious, but you're not sure if you wanna make tacos or hamburgers again? Well, don't worry, I have you covered. I have 3 delicious ground beef recipes that are family friendly, come together so quickly, and I'm sure you have most of the ingredients for at least one of these recipes sitting in your pantry. So with all that said, let's go get started on the video. So the first recipe I have to share with you is one of my favorites. It's a true classic, but with a twist, and it's Sloppy Joe bowls. So I saw this recipe floating around on Instagram, a few people sharing it. So I just took my Sloppy Joe recipe and I threw together my own. So the first thing I'm starting off with is making up my pickled onion. So I have to do this a little bit in advance because it has to sit in the fridge for at least an hour or on your countertop, whichever. But you have to do it a little bit ahead of time so they have time to sit and pickle. So all I'm doing here, as you can see, is I cut up about 1/4 of an onion into thin slices. I got those into a mason jar, and then I just got some hot water that I added in some sugar, some salt, and some apple cider vinegar. And you want your water to be hot so the sugar and the salt can dissolve. You can also do it on your stovetop, but you want to make sure it's cooled before you pour it into your onions. So I just poured that into the mason jar, put the lid on, and then I set this on my counter. You can put it in the fridge, like I said. It just needs to sit for at least an hour, maybe a little bit longer, so they can pickle. So once I got that set aside, I moved on a little bit later and I got my sweet potatoes started. So I just did 2 sweet potatoes. You can do however many you need depending on how many people you're feeding. I'm feeding 2 adults and 2 kids, so 2 potatoes were fine. So I got some olive oil drizzled on those, brushed, and then I just seasoned with my favorite seasoning, which is the blend seasoning, which has salt, pepper, and garlic. You can just do salt and pepper if that's all you have. And then I got those sweet potatoes into my oven, which I had preheating to 415 degrees, and then they just needed to cook for about 12 to 15 minutes until they were kind of crispy and where I wanted them. And then while those were in the oven, I moved on to get my Sloppy Joes ready. So I had made a freezer meal prep of Sloppy Joes that I had put into my freezer about a week or 2 prior. So I just pulled one of those out. I'll share the video above where I show how to make my Sloppy Joes. So once everything was heated up, the potatoes were done, my pickled onions were done. I got everything ready to go into the bowls. So after everything was ready to go, I just got a large bowl. I put a big pile of that Sloppy Joe mixture, my cooked sweet potatoes, and then dill pickles and pickled onions. This recipe is so unique but so good, and every time I give it to my family, they always gobble it up. So the next delicious dinner I have to share with you is ground beef and broccoli. Okay, so in my pan here, I have about a tablespoon of olive oil heating up, and I'm going to add in my broccoli. So I have about 3 cups of broccoli that I have cut up into smaller, medium pieces, and I'm gonna get these cooked just until they're softened. And then I'm gonna remove it from the pan so I can cook my ground beef. So while the broccoli is cooking in the pan, that's gonna take about 4 or 5 minutes. I am going to dice up my bell pepper, 1 whole bell pepper, any color will do. I'm gonna go with red, and then probably about half of an onion, because I have a half onion here. It's a good size half though, so I might do a little bit less. So by this point, my broccoli was done cooking. I definitely didn't want to overcook it, so I moved it onto a plate, and then I was gonna just use the same pan to cook everything else before I added the broccoli back in. So really quick, I just want to point out that if you want to make any of these recipes that you see here in this video, everything will be listed down below in my description box for you to make life easier. Okay, so I've added my diced red bell pepper and my onion to my pan with the melted butter. Now that that's been going for a few minutes sauteing, the onion is pretty translucent, I'm going to add in my ground beef now. So I also want to point out that this meal is one of my favorites to put together because it can be made so easily with ground beef. If you've ever made traditional beef and broccoli, it usually uses a different type of cut of meat, round steak, flank steak, but for me, I don't always have that stocked in my freezer, but I have ground beef. So I can have the delicious dinner of beef and broccoli made with ground beef. And now I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I like a lot of garlic, so I'm going to add a good amount. Okay, so while this finishes up cooking, I'm gonna move over and make up my sauce for this. So before I got started on the sauce mixture, I actually decided to make up the cornstarch mixture that I needed to put into it to help thicken it up once it was all done. So I just have a small bowl with some water, and then I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm getting that mixed up really well, and then I'm just pushing that off onto the side before I make up my sauce. Next, I'm just gonna add in 1 cup of beef broth into this. I'm gonna be making up the sauce now. And then now a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I like to get the less sodium, low sodium soy sauce, but if you want to just do regular, that'll be fine too. Maybe cut the sodium down on the rest of the dinner. And then I'm going to add in 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. And then I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of ginger. You can also do fresh ginger if you have it. I don't, so I'm just gonna do the powdered ginger. And then lastly, I'm gonna add in 2 teaspoons of sesame seed oil. So now that this has come to a boil, it's been cooking for about 3-ish minutes. I'm gonna add in my cornstarch and water mixture. And this is gonna help it thicken up. So now that the cornstarch has been mixed up and it's thickened up pretty well, I'm gonna add my broccoli back in. So I'm just gonna chop up some green onion to top on top of this, and I have rice cooking in my Instant Pot, and dinner's ready to go. So I just topped that mixture right on top of some cooked jasmine rice, topped it with that green onion, and then drizzled it a little bit with some sriracha on top because I like a little bit of a kick with this meal. This dinner's so good. It's so easy. It's a great way to get your favorite Chinese takeout, but healthier because you know what's going into it, and it's cheaper because it's made with ground beef. My family always loves this meal, gobbles it up, even my 3-year-old. It's a great dinner for those busy weeknights. And the last dinner I have to share with you is this 1-pot creamy cheesy beef pasta. It comes together so quickly and it's so good. So the first thing I did was just get one of my largest skillets that I have because I'm going to be cooking everything in this pot, like I said with the title, even the pasta. So I just got some olive oil, some butter melted in the pan. I added in half of a diced onion, and then I'm also adding in about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. I'm going to saute this until the onion is translucent. Once that onion is pretty much cooked through, I'm going to add in my ground beef, and then I'm just going to season that with some Italian seasoning, some smoked paprika, and then just some salt and pepper to taste. Once my beef is pretty much cooked through, then I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And then later, once I get this all mixed together, I'm going to add in all of my liquids. So I'm going to add in about 3.5 cups of beef broth, and then 1 cup of cream. You can do half and half, or you can do milk, whatever you have on hand. So once that mixture came to a good boil, it was time to put my pasta in. So I went with penne pasta, and I also have been enjoying getting the added protein pasta just because I feel like it's a little bit of a healthier option. It gives us that extra protein for dinner. I got that into the mixture, and I just cooked it according to the box. And once it was all done, I added in my shredded cheddar cheese. I also want to point out, depending on what type of pasta you use, if you notice your liquid mixture gets soaked up before it's done cooking, you can also add in a little bit more liquid so it can finish off cooking the pasta. You can do extra beef broth or just do water, whichever you have. So when that was all done, it was ready to be dished up. I just served it alongside some mixed vegetables, added some extra shredded cheese on top, and this meal is such a good comfort meal. It'll be perfect to make through fall and winter, and it's so easy because it's all made in one pot. Easy cleanup. So I think you'll really enjoy this dinner if you decide to try it out. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And if you're new here, I would love to have you. I post videos all about food, so make sure to subscribe down below. And if you have any recipes that have ground beef in them that you love to make for you and your family throughout a busy week, make sure to share it in the comment section. I would love to give it a try. All right, I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.